Hello, everyone. So good to see you. If they called in the Marshals, the U.S. Marshals, the U.S. Marshals would find Sebastian. They have a tremendous success rate on finding children. If Sumner County called in the U.S. Marshals would find Sebastian. If the U.S. Marshals found Sebastian, whether rescue or recovery, would tell a story. Who does not want that story out and why? It's Sebastian's life. It's more than a story, it's a case. But sadly, when we don't have the same narrative being told, it shifts. The truth doesn't shift. So we begin to call it a story. This is Crime Time Buzz. Thank you so much for being here. We are on a little earlier today, but I will be back on at 7 p.m. for Cars, Lights, and Lies. Please do not miss it. That's 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The father of Sebastian Rogers is the only parent out advocating for Sebastian, using his voice for Sebastian. I've received many communications over the past more than a year and a half asking me if Sebastian's mother was alive. Yes, indeed, she is. She just chooses not to be a voice for Sebastian, an advocate for Sebastian, or in the public for Sebastian. Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, has begged, continues to beg for the case to be escalated to a higher level, federal level, the U.S. Marshals, something, because he cannot seem to get communication, honest communication and action from Sumner County Sheriff's Office, allegedly, according to Seth Rogers. We have seen it through many of the alleged sightings that weren't followed up. The father made it all the way to Bristol, Virginia, and law enforcement hadn't even picked up a phone yet. Do you know that there is a relative of Katie Proudfoot's that lives in Bristol, Virginia? Yes, indeed. There was a sighting at the Spokane International Airport, October of 2024. The person could not get in touch with Sumner County Sheriff's Office, had a full description of the person traveling with whom she thought to be Sebastian, where she saw Sebastian, where exactly they were, where they were most likely coming from. Couldn't get them to respond, answer, nothing. When we had the ransom, they were uninterested. It was nerve-wracking. We were pacing floors. We were scared. We were worried, but for some reason, it didn't worry them, allegedly. They will not listen to the father who has begged for the marshals, even though the sheriff says he is not going to do any press conferences. The last one he did was April 2nd of 2024, and I caught him in a little oopsie in that one that we'll discuss tonight. He hasn't done one since April 2nd, 2024, nor has the public information officer for Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, who is supposed to keep Sebastian's face out there as an Amber Alert child. But he has not done a press conference, the sheriff of Sumner County. He has said that he will not, and he does not care not to, or does not care if the public and his constituents don't like it. What I want to say is, I believe in my heart of hearts, my opinion, and I want you to form your own. The reason he refuses to call the marshals, because we know law enforcement works together. We know they unite for big cases. Rather than let a case just forget it and turn your back on it, we see them calling in, working together. We see it on manhunts. We see it for missing children. We see it. That's what we see. They don't just say, it's me, all me, and pound their chest. No, it's about the person. So the marshals aren't being called in for a reason, and I think I have an idea, because the marshals will find Sebastian. They're capable. They're trained. No one can pay them off not to find him. No one can tell them to turn away from the law. And hi, Mark, good to see you. And when they do find Sebastian, rescue or recovery, Sebastian will tell a very important story. And in my opinion, friends, that is why they refuse to call. It is a story they do not want out there. And what I mean by that is, if they rescue Sebastian, he's going to speak that story into existence, the truth. He is going to tell that story. If they recover Sebastian, his body will tell the story. I hate to say that, but that's why, in my opinion, the marshals are not being called. It is a story, for some reason, it's being covered up. For some reason, people are being protected. For some reason, they don't want to find Sebastian, allegedly, in my opinion. We went over the search, the investigative things like Warshams that didn't happen. Then we went over the dog hitting on the storage unit numerous times, people being told it was a dead rodent. We know that they differentiate between that. They are trained to hunt the scent of decomposition, the smell of death. So they don't want those marshals in there because they will find Sebastian. And somehow, some way, someone's involved that doesn't want someone to know they know something, they saw something, they did something. And that's my opinion, but it has to be going on, in my opinion, because do you just give up? He's run 2 campaigns without saying Sebastian's name. We have people in the jail. The money's going to the people in the jail. There was problems there with families having problems with getting money to their inmates and things like that. We had problems with inmates being violated in the jails. The sheriff's supposed to be protecting the jails, protecting the town, protecting Sebastian, finding Sebastian. There's an important reason he won't call in the marshals. Now, the marshals don't come in, I learned this, they don't come in and investigate. No, they come in, get what they need from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, whatever they need the case to find the child. They find the child, they move on. So there shouldn't be the embarrassment that they didn't do any forensics allegedly at the home. There shouldn't be that embarrassment that they didn't mark anything off with crime scene tape at the house. It shouldn't be an embarrassment that they were searching with dogs all over a construction site, but didn't have the wherewithal to stop the trucks from digging and moving things around. None of that should be an embarrassment. No. Shouldn't be an embarrassment that since August of 2024, after Sonny Weatherford died, the case died with him, basically, because we've seen nothing other than a few things coming out to debunk things that have been leaked. So what would Sebastian tell us? Let's discuss that. And we're going to start with rescue because we have hope, right? We have hope. We're going to start with rescue, and I'm sorry it's on a darn slideshow again. I don't know why it does that. But let's talk about this. So the United States Marshal Service is the nation's oldest and most versatile federal law enforcement agency. They know how to get the job done, and they work through justice, integrity, and service. They have solidified their role in the apprehension of dangerous fugitives, investigation of non-compliant SAs, recovery of missing children, and preservation of the criminal justice system's integrity through its interagency fugitive task forces, international operations, information sharing programs, and close cooperation with other federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. Because, like I said, it is so normal for a local jurisdiction to call in the marshals, the feds, anyone. Yes, and we need that in the Ellen Greenberg case that I'm going to be covering. So hit your notification bell. There's cover-ups going on there. There's pressure on the medical examiner to say it's self-harm rather than homicide. Corruption and cover-ups are real, my friends. Is that happening here? Boy, I hope not. But you know my opinion, but I want you to keep your own. Form your own opinion. Fugitive apprehension is principal U.S. Marshal Service mission and has the greatest opportunity to improve public safety by reducing the number of violent offenders in American communities. Okay. Sorry, I'm drinking my coffee. Hi, Mama. Mama said, thank you, Jay. Thank you, and you are welcome. Thank you for 8 months, my friends, of your support. I appreciate you. Support to the channel. Okay, now I know it's triggering when we talk about recovery, but we have to start to be a little bit honest with ourselves that it is an option. We have not been shown anything to prove that, but we just want to make sure we're covering that right now. Hi, YouTuber, and be kind, everyone. Thank you for being here to mod. Hi, Lisa King. Good to see you. Lady Roses. True Crime with Sweet Melissa. Hello, hello. Maria G. Hello. Gypsy Girl. Roxy R. And everyone here, including Rusty Pipes and Show Poodles, and all of you that are in the house, and those of you in the bushes. I want to be respectful, but I also want to be... if we want to bring Sebastian home, we have to be aware there's two routes. Let me turn my ringer off. There's two routes in doing that. There will be rescue or recovery. Now, if the marshals were called in and they rescue Sebastian's going to tell the story of what happened. He'll tell who took him. He'll tell when he was taken. He'll tell us if he made it home from the Texas Roadhouse. He'll tell us how he was taken. He'll tell us where he was taken. He'll tell us what was weird at the Texas Roadhouse, if anything. He'll tell us how the bowling alley was that 10 minutes, why he felt uncomfortable there, why they didn't stay and play games, why he didn't have salmon and asparagus like was originally said. Why was that something that was changed? He'll tell us all those little details. Did he really have spaghetti pancakes? Who in the family was with him that day? Did he take the trash out that night? Did he come home after the Texas Roadhouse? Were he and his mother alone in the car if he went all the way home with her on the way home from the Texas Roadhouse? I think not. I don't think so. I think someone else was in the vehicle. It's just my opinion. Okay. Those are all the things that Sebastian will tell. Hi, Panda. Good to see you. And thank you, sweetie, for the super sticker. That's very generous of you. Very generous of you. I did see a post about Devlin, and I was a little confused about it. So I am going to be emailing you, my friend. Thank you for your sweet donation. I will put it towards equipment and channel costs. Thank you, my friend. Boy, this past year for equipment costs has really, really gotten me. Hi, Diana. Diana says, if you're in the bushes, I'm reading a comment. I believe it was KK that took out the garbage, in my opinion. You know, I do as well. But I also believe that KK was not home, was not traveling alone in the vehicle. I believe someone was with her in that vehicle. That person is aware that she pulled over in that vehicle on her way home, in my opinion. Sebastian may have gotten out, but her and someone else came home, in my opinion. The thing that stumps me, and I keep telling you, is I've always connected the 3 a.m. sedan with him being taken out. But if Sebastian didn't make it home, would they really have risked a 3 a.m. sedan and flashlights to drop off shoes in Texas Roadhouse clothing and pick up things like the electronics? I don't know. That's where I get stumped, and I'd love to hear your theories, please. Yes, Nicey Maria, I thought At Night was going to release the bowling alley footage. They had mentioned that they were going to, but they have not. Apparently, Nicey Marie, if you're in the bushes, says, I like to see the timestamp on the bowling alley, what time she arrives and left, just like on the Nancy Grace interview, her story to Texas Roadhouse Texas Road timestamp. Oh, comparing them, yes. The bowling alley, from what we've always heard from her, is that they went to the bowling alley and had a wonderful time. We also heard there were other people there with them. I thought we'd heard that. Boy, it's hard, right, to know what we're hearing. Hi, Prayer Warrior. Good to see you. I've emailed you back a couple of times regarding your technology issue, and I hope it helped. But the story was, okay, well, we didn't bowl. Always got to be a twist, right? There always got to be oh, yeah, now that y'all found that out, this didn't happen. So, okay, we didn't bowl. You're right. But there were tournaments going on, so we went to the arcade and played games. He had a wonderful time. He was joking and laughing that week, and everyone was so surprised how well behaved he was, everyone who was with us. That's what she says. Well, apparently, there has not yet been a photo revealed of Sunday where he is smiling and joking, because at the bowling alley, he was there 10 minutes. I would love to see it too, Nicey. 10 minutes. They arrived, went to the front desk. He looked clearly uncomfortable and was standing behind his mother. We do not know why. I do not know why. Discomfort. Texas Roadhouse. Inside eating. That is not a child smiling and joking and having a great time. Leaving. That is a child who is wondering what the heck is going on around him, in my opinion, all of this is. So where's the joking, laughing, funny kid? If he's spending time with CP's sister, Melissa, I don't think she'd be joking with him. We have yet to see that in her interactions. She belittles him, in my opinion. Hi, JH. Aloha. She did not seem happy or caring at Texas Roadhouse, Mark said. I agree with you. When I used to take my child out to dinner and we were waiting, for the meal or whatever, I wasn't just on my phone. And I didn't want him on his. Like I told you guys before, we'd play little games like the celebrity game and, things like that, just to interact with each other. What happened today at school? What was the best thing? What was the worst thing? What are you looking forward to tomorrow? All of those conversations you can have, but if you recall, she didn't interact with him in the home either. Seth found that out after he went missing when he looked at the counseling notes. She was ignoring him in the home, allegedly. Okay. Let's keep going. I digress. Forgive me. Yes. Nicey Marie said, just like Katie putting a picture in his face when he entered the day he was reported missing. She stuck a photo in his face and said, look, he's smiling and happy. Well, yeah, he is. But sadly, that wasn't the day before he went missing. So why can't you show one the day he went missing and say, look, he was happy? Why can't you show the one you took at the tables that we all saw you snap? And when Seth came in and said, look, he's happy, because he wasn't happy at the Texas Roadhouse, and we want to know why, Katie Proudfoot. So if they rescue him, he will have quite the story to tell. As we know, he has said before, they hate me. I don't want to go home. They don't like me there. That's what he would tell his father. His father was trying to get him over to his home as quickly as possible. The stepfather and the mother were trying to ship him away to a school that had a record of abuse. And the father, Seth Rogers, would not allow it. The other schools that he thought might benefit Sebastian temporarily while he was waiting to get Sebastian off the waiting list at his area for his online school, they said was too expensive. Did something happen in 2 months that they couldn't wait for him to go to Seth's? Why couldn't they wait the 3 months for him to go to Seth's? And I said 2 months because they started talking about putting him in a school, and then boom, he's gone. Couldn't wait 3 months. And my theory on that is because CP And I've said it before, has little man syndrome. That's my opinion. He has to be the big guy against the women and the children, the big man, because that's what makes him feel big. When he said the statement, he thought he was gonna get me kicked out of my own home. There we go. That's what started it, in my opinion. Big man had to show a little boy. Seth had made a statement on one of the podcasts that Chris had said something like, he's gotta prove himself to live in my house. Something like that. That's concerning. Sebastian was starting to outcry, to tell on him. Yes. Katie was being held responsible as far as not changing the situation. CPS had been to the house numerous times. Who posed as the biological father? Because CPS is supposed to do eye to eye, face to face with the biological father. Seth never got a call. Did they just not do it? Or did someone pose as Seth? I don't know. But if it's a recovery, sorry, I'm digressing. Hello, everyone. If it is a recovery, which we hope it is not, his body will tell his story. His remains will. For instance. So either way, the story will be told when he's found. He'll tell it himself, or, God forbid, his remains will. And that's, my friends, in my opinion, why they will not call the marshals. And I'm going to skip this and come back to it. Okay, abductions. Family abductions account for 59% of all Amber Alerts. While stranger abductions are less common, representing less than 0.1%, not even a full percent of cases. Recovery rate. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children assisted in recovering 91% of the cases they worked on in 2024. Sebastian is one of the 9% of the cases they worked on that have not been recovered. Oh, be kind, get something to eat, my friend. For those of you in the bushes, Be Kind's blood sugar was dropping. So 9% are only the ones that National Center for Missing and Exploited Children failed to bring home last year. Sebastian was one of those 9%. But when you see some of the things that we have seen, like that are going against finding him, when we see that, for instance, footage not being preserved, the home not being preserved, being tainted, not forensic, the search radius was a shallow search radius, in my opinion, and it wasn't even done with integrity because Warsham's footage didn't even get picked up. How many other locations around there didn't get picked up? We know trail cams showing allegedly Kathy Bowersock sitting on the street by outside the storage unit and general store most likely weren't picked up. How about the daughter of Warsham's, whose house apparently points right there and has cameras? And rest in peace, Mr. Worsham has recently passed since this happened. So 9%. Why is Sebastian in that 9%? Because, in my opinion, we have, like we have in the Ellen Greenberg case that's been going on for 24 years, cover-ups, closed meetings, secret whispers, encouraging people to say things. That's going on in the Ellen Greenberg case, and that we are going to cover it. She is a teacher who was stabbed over 20 times. The medical examiner said it was a homicide. Many of those stabs are in her back. But yet, they had a meeting, and in that meeting, now, under oath, the medical examiner has sworn that the DA's office and everyone else and others in there coerced him to change it to self, not homicide. And it has gone back and forth. And this month again, They settled out of court. It was a civil case. They settled out of court. They were going to reinvestigate, open the case. The law enforcement said once they settled out of court and it didn't go to jury, guess what happened? They did absolutely nothing. And they brought in a different medical examiner who has now taken every point of the case and said it's self. So she apparently was able to unalive herself with blunt force trauma to the head, numerous stab wounds to the back. And it's just an absolute travesty. Her parents have spent the last 25 years, every penny they have. Their only child. They want it investigated. And they want to understand why it's being covered up as a self-harm. So that is the case of Ellen Greenberg, and we are going to be covering it. I am watching things on it. Yes. Wild Lilac says Sheriff Craddock should turn over his phone to have it examined. That would be yes, that would be wonderful. So, but anything. Let's have whatever it takes to bring a child home. That's your oath. Your oath isn't campaigns and biscuits. By the way, he makes fun of crime, and I'll share some of that with you. He put out a post. You know, he's a big shot now, running again against himself. And he started having, we're going to get tougher on crime. And he put something out. If you're thinking about creating a crime, eat a biscuit. No one gets arrested mid-biscuit. That's as bad as Snuggle Struggle. He just makes fun of crime. I mean, it's just a big old joke to him, in my opinion. Yes. I mean, I'll share some of the things they say. Think before you do it, before this sheriff's office will come get you. It's just the way they're doing it is just silly. It's unnecessary. And it, quite frankly, in my opinion, it's a slap in the face to anyone who wants Sebastian brought home, who knows he's doing nothing. And I'll just say that in my alleged opinion. You're doing nothing. We saw the fear in your eyes when you did the interview, slumped in your chair. Okay, so 9%, there's a reason. You know who's one of those 9%? Sebastian. You know who's another one? Summer. Let's look at both those teams. 2 lead detectives who don't make themselves known, make interviews for the children. 2 public information officers who hardly say a word. 2 sheriffs who have a lot going on under their belts, in my opinion. Hi, Tammy. Good to see you. Been a while. Great to see you. So Sebastian is in the 9%, and I think it's because they're working against it. They're working against it. Death threats, threats to people. Pretending things don't exist that do exist. Pretending things do exist that don't exist. It makes no sense. People see on their footage someone being carried out between the yards, and they tell them that's not what you're seeing. It makes no sense. We see a person standing in a green hoodie near a car of a child who has never been seen since. And oh my gosh, we cleared him. And guess what? When we cleared him, he had on the same sweatshirt. So we knew it was him. Her, by the way. It is a female. So Sebastian will speak, regardless if it's a rescue or a recovery. Here are some of the things that would speak for him. Because if they find him, like I said, in a rescue, he's going to speak. He's going to tell who, what, when, where, why, what was going on all day, what happened at the poker party, allegedly, what happened at BJ's, were they at BJ's, why was he scared at the bowling alley, who was with them, who was in the parking lots, if he got out of the car before he got home from Texas Roadhouse, who was with them that knew mom pulled over? Who? But if it's a recovery, my friends, he will still speak to us. Okay? Because if his body is buried, that's not a runaway. For those of you new to the case, forgive me, we're talking about Sebastian Rogers. He is 16 years old, about to turn 17 in December, and he was 15 when he was last seen at the Texas Roadhouse, leaving with his mother, and has never been seen since and was reported missing the next morning. Sadly, the timeline has shifted, morphed, twisted repeatedly every time Sebastian's mother speaks, which is not very often. Sebastian has a father who is quite a voice for Sebastian. And right now we're talking about, why will the sheriff not call in the marshals? Well, in my opinion, it's because when the marshals will find him, and then we will know. And I think it's a story that is far beyond a little boy, 15 years old, who hates the cold, hates being bare feet, bare without shoes, hates the dark, doesn't like to be dirty, enjoys his cell phone, his games, left without any of it, liked his coat, and walked out in the middle of the night. But not because he was upset, not because he was locked out, just they have no idea. They've racked their brains. Well, as the case went on, those of you who are unfamiliar with it, when the mother says they racked their brains trying to figure out, even that day or the few weeks leading up, what could have led him to want to go. Well, how about the CPS call? I believe that that's the motive. He tried to get me kicked out of my own home. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm making just a statement. He tried to get me kicked out of my own home, so therefore he got him kicked out. Thank you. Be kind to everyone. That's so sweet. Thank you for the super sticker and your donation. Welcome in, prayer warrior. I thought you were a member. You must be renewing already, or renewing. So if Sebastian, so if it's a recovery, if he's buried, that's not a runaway. Then guess what happens? They have to start looking, well, who buried him? Then who was the last to be with him? Who's never been cleared? Who claims the doors were locked when they went to sleep and woke up? So the only one with access to him. If we happen to find his remains and they've been, sadly, this is a trigger warning, burned in a fire like JJ and Tylee in the Lori Vallow Daybell case, then we know, well, this child most likely did not just run away. Someone did something nefarious and then tried to do away with the evidence. His body will speak to us. Just like Ellen Greenberg, they're saying she did it to herself. Well, she has blunt force trauma to her head, the back of her head. That tells a story. That story that tells us someone was behind her and hit her with that knife. They will be looking for things like that on Sebastian, if this indeed were the situation. Okay. If he's found in a suitcase, box, or container of any kind, that would be a child, not a child who ran away. That would be a child who was taken away. It's hard to talk about, isn't it? I'm going to go. I agree. Diana Bond said, Crime Time Buzz, I think Sebastian had no shoes for they didn't want him to run for it would be hard and bare feet. It would hurt, in my opinion. Yes, I agree. And you know what else I thought of, Diana? 3 reasons he didn't have shoes. He was sleeping when this went down. And so they didn't lace up shoes. 2, what you're saying. And also, remember she said he could run fast. If you take off shoes, he's not going to run as fast, right? For him to run, it would be hard. Yes. So we're thinking the same things. Yes. I agree. We're going to get to the toxicology too. Yes. Mark says, when was the last full year CP didn't have drama in his life? Always something with this dude. Agreed. It's gone on with Nina, with Faith, now all these CPS things, now a missing child. Remember, he said he was going to get fired from work. He thought he was going to lose his job on Nancy Grace. He said, because of all of this, who loses their job because of a missing child? It's just chaos. Some people thrive on chaos. So if he's in water, anchored, obviously that's not a runaway. That's someone who's responsible for that. Okay. Now, in my opinion, if Sebastian is found in water that is not a pool, which would have already been located, I will say that is someone doing something nefarious to him, because from moment one, we were told he doesn't swim in rivers, lakes, ponds. He is not drawn to them like most autistic children are. He stays away from them and goes to pools. I expect if when they find him, if he was a mere runaway, as was reported, and if it was a lie, that in itself is a crime, Katie Proudfoot. Allegedly, in my opinion, if he did not run away. If it's true, when you said the statement, there were two content creators at lunch allegedly with KP. One allegedly was recording, and one allegedly heard her say, and I don't know if she said before or after, I haven't seen his godmother since before he was murdered. The two content creators had gotten into an argument. One said, you heard it and recorded it. The other said, no, I did not. But my gosh, don't you think law enforcement should check that out? Shouldn't they have a little curiosity of who's threatening people in their town? And if a mother's saying before or after my child was murdered, and you're on and you're still calling it a missing persons case? Remember, Sebastian is still a missing persons case. So if he's anchored in water, something nefarious, but I think if he's in water, it's nefarious anyway. And the body will tell a story, because if there is no water in the lungs, that means he was unalive before he went in the water. If he happened to be found in water and there was water in the lungs, he was drowned. He drowned. There better be no marks on his neck based on strangulation. And I say that specifically based on some of the things we've heard that possibly allegedly occurred. Let's just say this. If you are a step parent and you're thinking of marrying someone with a child and you don't care for him, move on. Just move on. Don't be a big bully. And I will tell you my hope. My hope is that Sebastian will be found. Sebastian will be able to tell his story, and Sebastian will be able to out the SOB who abused him over and over again. That's what I want. And we all know who that is. The little coward. The only one who knew the license plate readers weren't working that night, but not sure what if they are now, because that's not important now. Knew exactly what the retention pond level was to his own body the day he went missing, but has no idea the water level since. Doesn't anyone find that suspicious? I would think a sheriff who wanted to find Sebastian would find these things suspicious. I'm not saying he doesn't want to, but it looks like that with his behaviors. No press conferences. Anytime there's evidence, he can't be gotten a hold of. He doesn't go to sightings, even when family members of the mother live there. He doesn't answer ransom emails. He doesn't, it's hard. They have no tip line designated. They give a phone number, but there's no directions. There's no encouragement. It's just disgusting, in my opinion. And does Tennessee, your attorney general, you're supposed to be the top cop there. What are you doing? Letting this guy make y'all look bad, in my opinion. He's running against himself, wearing a shirt that says his own name instead of the name of a child who is missing. If you call to speak to him, he basically can't even speak once he hears Sebastian's name. If you enter the office, he has his little, I won't use the word I was just about to use. His deputies approach you and ask you what the heck you're doing there. I want to talk about Sebastian. Why? My gosh. The new DA allegedly is friends with them too. I forget his name. I want to say White, but I off the top of my head, I don't know. It's just the Homeland Security knows they're crooked there. There should be no poison or drugs in his system after a toxicology is ran. There should be no defensive wounds fighting against someone, because remember, we have no idea why he left. He had a great weekend. Why would he walk out that door? There should be no signs of assault, not S or any other kind. And yes, I say S because I worry a child who has to wear pull-ups in a home is oftentimes being S assaulted. I know that as a teacher. I know that as an adult, as many of you do. And by the way, those of you in Tennessee, I just want you to know, all of you are mandatory reporters in Tennessee. Many states, everyone is a mandatory reporter, not just teachers, doctors, nurses. You are all mandatory reporters. So when you see a neighbor calling a kid an R or power washing him in the yard, please report it to CPS. And I know many of you did. I'm just saying, please, because you are mandatory reporters. Yes, I agree. Someone said they will, Joanne Marie said, Jay, in my opinion, they won't call in the United States Marshals Service because not only might they find Sebastian, it would uncover questionable activities within LE, but uncover what nefarious by others. I totally agree with you, Joanne, in my opinion. It's a matter of, it would uncover why law enforcement hasn't followed every tip like they're supposed to, followed every sighting like they're supposed to, why they have been documented by many people saying, oh, that's not the kind of tip we're looking for. Things like that. You didn't see that. How about ones that went to the creek where there was a pair of pants? I don't want to get my shoes wet. All of that. Lack of forensics, lack of crime scene preservation, lack of footage being preserved. Why didn't they find all that stuff that volunteers found at Warsham's? It's a travesty. They didn't think would get out this long. They didn't think it would go this far and would be exposed, but it has been. It's exposed. Now, what we have to do is Nancy Grace ended her Ellen Greenberg show, and she said, I never thought the day would come where I'd say, don't call law enforcement. Don't call the district attorney because they're involved in covering up. She said, call the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I found the name of the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I don't even know if I have it up yet. I don't know if I put it up. But I do have the name of the U.S. Attorney's Office for Hendersonville. I do have it. It is Robert E. McGuire. Is the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Tennessee. So he is the acting United States Attorney for the district. And he started on December 28th of 2024. So in the midst of the investigation, in the midst of this investigation, he has started. Okay, so we need to get a hold of this person. It's Robert McGuire. And let him know if you have any tips, things you've sent in before, send them to him, please. Hi, Chicken Lady. Good to see you. Okay, so, and that came from Nancy Grace regarding Ellen Greenberg, because you can't call the cops in that case. You can't call the DA in that case, because that's who they're worrying is covering up. Sound familiar? So she said, call the U.S. attorney for that area. So that I thought, well, we need to do that with Sebastian. And that means if you've got information, call him. Let him know what's going on. This person started 10 months ago. So let's let them know what they missed before they came in. Name again, Robert E. McGuire. Let me see if I can get you a number here real quick. Hold on, my friends. Excuse me. Let me see here. Let's see how we can contact him. There we go. So here is the U.S. Attorney for Hendersonville Area District. 615-736-5151 is the number. You can email the webmaster at usatnm.webmaster@usdoi.gov. You could take a screenshot too if you'd like to. I've got it up. So this is the U.S. Attorney, United States Attorney's Office. That is who we can give tips to, concerns, since it doesn't help to contact the law enforcement or the DAs. And I haven't tried to contact the new DA, but we know where we were at with Whitley. Diana, will you email me today? I have something a question I want to ask you, but if you would just email me to remind me. Absolutely, Nicey. Thank you for taking a screenshot of that. Sometimes missing persons are taken care of, but it's still a crime to keep your child away from its legal parents, period. Yes, it is. And I used to receive messages that made me go bananas when people would say, if Katie gave her to someone else to live, that's just okay. Hello, no, it is not okay, because he has a parent. Another parent who is actually involved and would like to be with him. You don't just get to, you just don't get to say, sorry, I've made this choice. Okay, so we should hope there should be no signs of assault. If there are, the investigation starts going to the last person he was with. If there's toxic poison in his drugs, the last person he was with. Because remember, she said there's no one else who he was with. I believe someone else was traveling home in the car with them. Also, it will show if Texas Roadhouse was his last meal. If he has other meals in his body, it could tell a story of something else we don't know. Now, I received a message from one of you that said you saw on Cluminati a long time ago that KP said on her live they stopped at McDonald's on the way home and he vomited. I never saw that, and apparently Clue has taken it down. If you saw that, saved it, please email that to me. I would love to hear that. Another thing that we would need to know is if they find him, his feet should be just lacerated, cut, right? From walking with bare feet. They will be able to tell time of death. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. They will be able to tell. Now, I thought, okay, what if would they be able to tell if he succumbed to the elements while he was outside as a, air quotes, runaway? And it said yes, but that is not a natural death. That's considered an accidental death. What about if he's found in Alaska? Well, bad example. Let me, because in this case, that would mean something. What if he was found in Honolulu? That distance is going to tell us something. Someone probably took him there. Someone probably helped him get there, or someone forced him to be there. If he's found, if it's a recovery, he should be found in the very clothes he was reported missing, right? He should be also found in pull-ups because the stepfather required him to wear those for humiliation, in my opinion. He didn't have to wear them anywhere else, just around the man who made him nervous, the bully, in my opinion. So please, please message that U.S. attorney, because if that's what Nancy Grace, she knows her legal stuff, she's recommending that for Ellen Greenberg's cover-up case, we should use the same mode for Sebastian. That's why I wanted to talk to y'all, because I thought maybe we could do this too, because he's not getting what he should get, because if he got what he should get, and I'm talking about Sebastian, in an investigation, certain people would be exposed. Something would be exposed that someone doesn't want exposed. And sadly, everyone's looking at the sheriff because he's not doing what he should. And it seems like anytime something's leaked, he's doing everything he could to say it's all BS. Well, guess what? It's not all BS. They even had leaks out of their own office in the beginning. A detective telling his girlfriend things, to the point where they had some meetings that couldn't even, some meetings weren't even in the office. How sad is that? Get it together. Get your town safe. I mean, but people are really looking at him because they don't understand why he didn't respond to the ransom. Why during the ransom for a week, with Sebastian being threatened and all of that stuff, instead of making sure and assuring everyone he followed through and it's not Sebastian, or this was a fake and I've arrested that phony. He doesn't do anything except go call a meeting to get his raise reinstated. Now he's running against himself again, his own campaign. Wearing a shirt with his own name on it, not Sebastian's. He doesn't go to Bristol, Virginia for a sighting when there's family members of KP's living there. That's right. Also in the Washington area, but he didn't make it to the Spokane International Airport or Whidbey Island. All those alleged sightings where family members are around nearby. Didn't, according to the family, didn't use luminol, didn't do fingerprinting, none of the above in the home. I wonder if the Department of Justice knows that. I wonder if the U.S. Attorney knows that. Hell, I wonder if the Attorney General knows it, the top cop in the state. What's he doing? Why is he letting Craddock make him look bad, in my opinion? Jen in Georgia. Hey, good to see you, hon. Wild Child said, for life said, OJ, sometimes I wish you weren't so good at stopping yourself. Wild Child, I'm glad you say I am good at, because sometimes I worry like it slips, something slips. But yeah, there's some things, Not that I want to keep things out, but things I'm not allowed, I've been given liberty to say. At night's the only one who's checked these things out. I know. Thank you, Carla HH. Good to see you. It's been a bit. Hey, alcoholic. So, where's his boss who's shocked with this? So anyway, they find Sebastian. Sebastian's going to talk. We all hope it's in a rescue, that he just blabs, points, fingers, tells every last thing so no one gets custody of so much as a mouse in the Proudfoot home, in my opinion. Reptiles given away to foster care. And I'm not joking. The dogs should be given to foster care. Anything with a beating heart in their care should be given away to foster care, in my opinion. You know, Carla H. Carla says, I'm tired of people saying at night is a joke and doing nothing. I can assure you they are doing something. They are doing a lot of things. And a lot of things are things they're until they have something, but they're surveilling. They're doing a lot of things. I know for a fact. But thank you for saying that. You know, I think people are just nervous after Craddock, not doing anything since April. They're nervous at night, isn't, but they are. They're going to be searching in Mississippi with the United Cajun Navy. Yes, they are. So they are still involved, but every time Dog speaks of the case, what happens? The threats escalate. Nicey Marie. Jay, do you know who realtor put the neighbor's house up for sale? Are you talking about Chris Carr's house? Any connections? I'm not sure, but I know he was offered a cash offer for his house and turned it down. Huh? Why would you do that? Why? Something in that house? By someone you didn't want to be in there. I'll have to go. I do not know, Nicey. I do not know. For some reason, I want to say no, it wasn't related to CB, but I don't know why I'm wanting to say that. I'm not sure if we checked it out, if someone told me that. I don't recall. So I've got to be honest. Hi, Noni McPoppins. Nani said, I wondered if there had been a sighting in Hawaii, how fast Snuggle Struggle would book his flight and pack his bags, just being honest. It's just sad. SI officer said they've been breaking the law for a very long time, making their own money illegally, in my opinion, and it is padded pockets and people properties they don't want to bring attention to. Domino. Yes, and guess what? That's why the properties are changing, right? So when you see the properties, take pictures because next time you go on, it'll be different. Hi, Jen. Thank you for growing our family love, and it's so good to see you. If you received Jen's gift, please thank her and welcome in. Thank you all for your generosity. Thank you so much for being here, spending time with me. Let's talk about what it can tell. So when you have a body, obviously an autopsy is done and you have the medical examiner, and we're going to be covering a case. So please, when you see me covering Ellen Greenberg, jump on it with me. A lot of what we're dealing with in Sebastian, in my opinion, is going to come forth in that one. Cover-ups, things that don't make sense, lots going on, okay? So when they do an autopsy, the medical examiner makes a determination, and they will determine cause of death and manner of death, which is the mode. Now, the mode is like the manner would be suicide, self, accidental, homicide, natural, and undetermined. And then the causes are the things that get them there. such as drowning, etc. They will check the stages of decomposition. And that's important because it establishes a time frame for the medical examiner of when the death occurred. So that is, forensic scientists will use the process of decomposition, including any insect activity, bloating, skin changes, to estimate that time frame when death occurred. So even when people are not there for their trials, they are still often speaking by what has been found. Their bodies are telling a story. Rigor mortis, the stiffening of muscles that occurs after death, can help estimate the time of death as the process progresses over a specific period. Now, I do not know, if you find someone a year down the road, is rigor mortis still pertinent in estimating time of death? Do any of you know that? I've got one of the smartest communities around. Liver mortis. The pooling of blood due to gravity creates a discoloration that can provide clues about the body's position after death. Yes, and let me find you guys. Sorry. Okay, that's interesting too, because that brings me to Ellen again, Greenberg. She was stabbed over 20 times. Now we heard 23, I think, the other day. And Dog the Bounty Hunter's on that case now too. She was stabbed over 20 times, some of which was in the back. And I'm sorry I keep going to this case. We're going to cover it, so join me. But the thing of it is one of which was a stabbing to the spinal cord, which a forensic person or medical examiner said that would have caused her to be a paraplegic. So she wouldn't have been able to stab herself in the heart at the end like happened. Another thing is there's no blood around the stab wound in the spine. And so that shows it happened after death, which is why it didn't bleed or bruise. So those kind of things are the stories the body can tell. Hi, Hope Floats. Those are the things the body can tell. And that's what, when I say Sebastian speak, regardless if it's a rescue or recovery, Sebastian will speak. What story, what happened. And it's kind of a morbid way to say it, but it's important because I think that's why they're not being called. Because as the body speaks, it's determined, is this an accident? Was it a runaway as reported? Was this a homicide, a self, or undetermined? Well, it depends what the body tells them. So, in my opinion, Caroline, I'll get right back to you. So, they don't want him found because we've had a sheriff who has said there's no sign of foul play. And I do believe that's why he's not speaking anymore, because he went on record saying there's no sign of foul play almost every time he spoke. We got nothing, got nothing, got nothing. No suspects, no prints, no breaking and entering, no sign he's ever left the home, no sign of foul play. We got nothing. Right? Well, how does that happen? When you've watched footage day one of what happened, when you saw a car pull up, when you saw flashlights get out, when commissioners told their friends about it, when a TBI agent said where he is, he's not coming back from, when a Hendersonville cop said it's so, so bad. How do you make all that go away? You don't, because once Sebastian's found, that's all going to make sense. That is all going to make sense. And I believe that is why he is not doing any more press conferences or anything. First of all, he doesn't have to because Sonny's gone and he's top dog now, right? Remember, the last time he spoke in April, Sonny was sheriff. Sonny died in August, and he has done nothing because he doesn't want to go on record again saying there's no foul play because things have been leaked, shown. Neighbors know. They've seen it with their own eyes. They've told us, right? So he wants to say nothing right now because he's already been on record all over the internet, national news everywhere, saying there's no sign of foul play. But yet there are people who saw him watching it. There are people who leaked it. There are people who leaked audio. There are neighbors who are talking. There are locals who are talking, but he's not. Because if he keeps saying that, it's already out there. The foul play is there. It's been leaked. It ain't no trash truck. Anyone can just slap on a hoodie that looks like the last one. It's been exposed that he didn't get footage, that he didn't follow leads where family members lived. Where's his suspects? But we'll have answers because Sebastian will tell us, or his body will. Because they'll get a cause and a manner of death. And by God, it better align with a runaway, right? Otherwise, Katie Proudfoot didn't report something quite so honest. But then again, she's living in a town, allegedly, where if she says, but I thought he ran away, she'll be believed, right? In my opinion. But that's where the neighbors will come in and say, I saw it with my own eyes being carried out. I saw the sedan. The commissioner told me. She said it. She said it was a targeted, not random. And people are going to start scrambling because they don't want to be under oath having to lie for someone else's sins. Wound analysis will be done. He better not have any wounds other than scratches from branches and things on his feet. Forensic pathologists will examine wounds to identify the type of weapon used, sharp or blunt objects, or natural, like from walking, running away. Do I think when we find Sebastian, he is going to have been a runaway? No. Do I think it makes sense that he would have run away in normal situation? Yes. Life was hell there. CPS reports, watching everything he ate, no friends, no mom helping him make friends with play dates or anything. None of that going on. No playground equipment in the backyard, so he had something to do. He sat in his closet with paper, liked to sit in his closet and play with a paper clip or a Lego. He was ignored by his mother. So I would see why he'd want to run away. But the way it's been laid out for us is not true. He would not have run away in those circumstances in the dark of night. He's a planner, a chess player. He would have planned it for when mom wasn't home from work yet and it was daylight, grab his stuff and get out. Take his shoes with him, his phone, his money, his coat. Because chess players know when you make one move, what possible moves are coming next. And they plot and they plan. So we would see, hopefully we won't see wounds like, well, I don't need to go into it. I'm worried about the throat in this one just because we've heard rumors that was how someone behaved toward him. Toxicology. Many of you believe that he was OD'd. Something was given to him at the Texas Roadhouse. Some of you think possibly fentanyl. Some of you think overdose of his very strong sleep medicine. But a chemical analysis of blood, organs, and other tissues can detect the presence of drugs, poisons, or other substances that may have caused death. So when we find him, and I say when because we will find him, Carla says he is smart. He would have left when he was home alone during daylight. Absolutely. And like Seth said, the only way he'd ever leave barefoot is if he was running for his life and he would have run straight out of the house and been caught on camera. He was not. He was not. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. My dog got my attention. Forensic pathology. An autopsy can reveal the specific cause of death through a detailed examination of all organs and the body's systems. Hopefully, that can occur. The only thing I worry about is cremation if he's no longer with us. That's the only thing I worry about. Injury patterns. The pattern of injuries can indicate the sequence of events. For example, bite marks can sometimes be matched to a perpetrator's teeth. Now, I hope they got marks of the stepfather's arm, pictures of it, documented it. I doubt it, though. So, yeah, so it just makes no sense. He walked out that front door. He stepped on that porch. Why was that such? If he was so happy and there were no problems, and you know your child doesn't go out at night, he's never run away, he's never left, is what you're saying. He hates bare feet, he hates the dark, he hates being dirty, he hates the cold. Why would your go-to be he walked out that front door and he stood on that porch? Why would that be your go-to? We're going to be covering Ellen Greenberg, Lisa, and I'm very excited too. There's a lot there, and we're going to be doing it probably in several parts. But I'm really excited too. It's another teacher. Many of us here are teachers, have been teachers. And her family has spent every penny trying to get justice to where there would even be an investigation. 25 years down the road, the Greenbergs are still fighting just to have her death investigated because they keep going back to self. Homicide, self, a huge cover up in that case. Heads are going to roll in that case, and people are going to be either jailed or lose their careers. So let's see here. And when I mention injury patterns, one thing I want to talk about, and I don't want to be gross and I want to say, triggering, we could also talk about they would be able to investigate recent SA injuries. Okay. I am worried about that. Yes, I am. And I know it's a topic I don't like to bring up because what happened to KP in her childhood is tragic. But that doesn't mean it means I worry about a cycle. And then when you have someone who dislikes Sebastian as much as the stepdad does, and I'm not accusing anyone, where wouldn't he stop? I'm sorry. I wouldn't allow my goldfish to be babysat by him. And that's the truth. Oh, another thing. Would he have glasses with him? Just not that can tell the story, but it would be something to note, right? He should have no broken neck or spine, no signs of assault, including assault. And if anyone heard that story on Clue where KP said they stopped at McDonald's and he was vomiting on the way home, if you could please let me know. It was taken down, but if you happen to save it, have it, I would love to hear it. I want to know if she meant on the way home from what. So I do not believe the marshals will ever be called unless Eric Craddock's boss gets strong and tells him to get his act together and bring him in. You don't want to do press conferences. You're not doing searches. You haven't been doing searches. You're not wearing his shirt. You're not mentioning his name. You're not posting about him, but you're posting about eating biscuits. Give it to someone who cares. And then, by God, you better remember that there was a child you selectively chose not to protect. Selectively chose not to protect. And I'm going to show you something. And I was going to save it for later, but I'm going to just show it to you. Here it is. Do I have it there? Let me see. Okay, good. When a sheriff or any law enforcement official selectively enforces the law or provides protection based on bias, it is known as selective enforcement, which undermines the principles of justice and equality. While law enforcement has broad discretion in their duties, their discretion cannot be used in a way that violates citizens' constitutional rights, particularly the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. They should not be biased in who they protect. They should be protecting all members of their community. All members of their community. Please call the U.S. Attorney's Office. Let me get that pulled up for you again, real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. I have so much open here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I might have closed it. Let me see. It's McGuire. Oh, here we go. So this is let me share it with you guys again. This is the U.S. Attorney's Office. United States Attorney Robert E. McGuire for Hendersonville, Sumner County, Middle District of Tennessee. And just like with Ellen Greenberg, because Nancy Grace said she never thought she would say this in all of her life, she couldn't call the cops. You can't call tips into the DA, so call the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I thought, United States Attorney for that area. And I thought, well, that's what we'll do for Craddock. Why is he not being investigated? Maybe because U.S. State Attorney Robert E. McGuire does not know what's going on because he just has been in there 10 months. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt, but let's all make sure now he does know what's going on and what is not being done. So that is where we are right now. Why I believe they will not call in the marshals is because if the marshals are called in, Sebastian will be found. He will absolutely be found. And if he's found, I believe a lot of people are going to have to start answering some questions. Right? A lot of people are going to have to start answering some questions. And Sebastian will tell a story that the lies can't cover up. So let's hope, prayers up for Sebastian Rogers to be treated with decency, respect, instead of silence and lies. Prayers up that someone, the U.S. Attorney, will look down upon his sheriff and tell him to get his ASS in gear and call the marshals and to stop acting like this and to start doing what his oath says he should be doing. My friends, I will be on again later this evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Cars, Lights, and Lies. We just got to keep going, keep going. If you know of any local reporters, please, Mr. Barris is one, yes, but Eric Craddock tells him what to write, okay? We need someone who is not going to be affected when Sumner County gets upset. who will continue to cover this story and cover this story and cover this story until something is done. Because we're not going to let the locals haven't found anyone to run against this guy. He's got a spaghetti dinner tomorrow. Got time for all that, but he doesn't have time for Sebastian Rogers, one of his own missing. He's no J.D. Huff from Fruitland, where Michael Vaughn's missing. J.D. says, you don't take one of our own and get away with it. He's no Sheriff Morrison from Washington, where the 3 little girls' lives were taken, and he knew he was serving the family and the community and their safety and the girls' justice. He's not that. He's no he's no Grady Judd who will put their pictures up and be strong about crime. Oh, no. He wants us all to believe when someone is hard, the criminal had a bad day. A little snuggle struggle. He wants us to think that if you're eating a biscuit, if you eat a biscuit, that'll stop you from causing a crime, because no one causes a crime or gets arrested mid-biscuit. Crime's a joke to him. So is Sebastian. Just another joke. Well, he puts on a shirt with his own name and campaigns for himself with no opponents. But he can't bring a young man home. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you later this evening for Cars, Lights, and Lies. Thank you all. Prayers up for Sebastian. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. If you're new to us, welcome in. Hit that notification and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you. Mods, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for coming in today. I know it was quite earlier than normal, but I want to keep covering when we can, right? Because they need to call in the marshals. Now we know why they won't, because the marshals will find him. Why don't you want him found? What a tragedy. Tragedy in a town in Tennessee. I bet you if you called right now to leave a tip, you couldn't get a hold of anyone. Sebastian deserves better. Thank you all for being here. I will see you later today. Sebastian's Army, we will bring him home. Stay safe and keep keeping on.